Okay, so continuing with our discussion of our new logical language of predicate logic, I'm going to talk about in this video the basic interpretation of quantifiers, and then I'm going to talk about how pronouns in English work in natural language, because variables in the logical language work a lot like pronouns, and it's really helpful in trying to understand variables to be clear, have a little bit of sort of clear understanding of what's going on with pronouns. So this video will be, here's how sort of quantified sentences work a little bit, and here's how pronouns work in natural language. And then in the final video of this unit, I'll talk about how quantifiers and variables work more fully. So, just to remind you of some basic facts about meaning, for all x, or for all the universal quantifier x, or just the universal quantifier, symbolizes each thing is such that. And existential quantifier x symbolizes at least one thing is such that. So if we have for all x fx, we have the universal quantifier x gives us each thing is such that, then the fx gives us it is f. So what we have is each thing is such that it is f, or more colloquially, everything or each thing is f. Sum o fo, we have the sum o gives us something is such that, the fo gives us it is f. So we have something is such that it is f, or more colloquially, something is f. So they're simple variants of these two, so we can say all things are f, each thing is f, everything is f, and those are all for all x, fx. Something is f, there is an f, at least one thing is f, some x, fx. So quantifiers interact with variables, and to really understand how a quantifier works, to understand a quantified sentence, you need to understand how it's interacting with the variables and what the variables are doing. Variables work somewhat like pronouns do, so we're going to look at pronouns to understand how variables work. So what do pronouns do? So let's say we have the sentence, it is tall. So by itself, this sentence has no truth value. Why is that? Because by itself, it doesn't refer to anything. If we had a name there like Bob, well, a name has a referent, and so we could say that sentence is true if and only if Bob is tall. But the word it, by itself, doesn't refer to anything at all. You need to do something to make it refer. Maybe you have to have a particular thing in mind, maybe you have to point at it, maybe you have to do something else to make it salient to your audience, but you have to somehow or other establish a relationship between it and some particular object, which is then what we assign. We say that's assigned to it, or what it refers to. So then we can say, it is tall, that's true, if the word it refers to a tall object, such as the Eiffel Tower, and the sentence it is tall is false if the word it refers to a short object, like an ant. So given that the word it refers to something or other, then this sentence becomes true or false. Or we might say it is tall and green, or it is tall and it is green. And the same thing here. By itself, no truth value, because the word it doesn't refer to anything. Once you've given the word it a referent, then you can at least get a truth value. So it is tall and green is true if it refers to an object that's tall and green, such as the Statue of Liberty. And it is tall and green is false if it refers to a short object, like an ant, or a non-green object, like the Pyramid of Giza. So if we have a sentence that doesn't have a quantifier, has no quantifiers in it, but does have pronouns in it, then we have a sentence that by itself is not true or false. It becomes true or false only if the pronoun is assigned an object to refer to. This sentence, however, does specify a property. It specifies, let's say, the property being tall, or being tall and green, and then we can say that a sentence is true or false if an object, first of all, an object is assigned to the pronoun, and then the object either has or lacks the appropriate property. So that's the first thing. The first thing we want to remember is, if you have a sentence that doesn't have any quantifiers in it, but it does have pronouns in it, then on the one hand, it's not true or false by itself. On the second hand, it does specify a property, and on the third hand, that the property we're talking about is related to the sentence's truth value if you give the pronoun a referent, something to refer to. Now, so what we've done so far is we can think about what happens if you assign this particular object to the pronoun or that particular object to the pronoun. But you can also ask, well, is there at least one object, I don't care which one, but is there at least one such that if you assign it to the pronoun, then the sentence comes out true. So, and if the answer, so then if we consider the sentence, something is such that it is tall and green, this sentence is basically asking the same question. It's true if there's some object where if we assign it to it, makes it is tall and green true, and that thing is false if every object, if assigned to it, makes it is tall and green false. So is there at least one object such that when you assign it to the it in it is tall and green, that comes out true? If the answer is yes, the sentence is true. If the answer is no, there's no such object, the sentence is false. So we have the it is tall and green. Without a quantifier, no truth value, but you can consider what happens. You can say assign this particular object to it, it comes out true. Assign that particular object to it, the sentence comes out false. Then we can put a quantifier on the front of the sentence with a pronoun, and then we have something that is true depending upon how many things, when you assign them to the it in the sentence, does that the shorter sentence come out true or false. And so again, we could ask, not is the sentence it is tall and green true of at least one object, but is it true of each object when that object is assigned to the pronoun? And the sentence that would express that claim is, in English, is everything is such that it is tall and green. This is true if each object, if assigned to the pronoun, makes it is tall and green true, and it's false if at least one object, when assigned to it, makes it is tall and green. So when we speak of natural language quantifiers, we can say this: at least one thing is such that box, that whole sentence is true if and only if there's an object that when it's assigned to the it's in box, then box is true. And each thing is such that box, that's true if and only if each object is such that when we assign it to the it in box, box is true. So we can see that pronouns have two rules. By itself, a pronoun can be assigned different objects, and then once it's assigned an object, the sentence becomes true or false. And then the truth values of quantified sentences, that depends upon what happens when different objects are assigned to the pronouns inside of the sentence in the way that we've just been talking about. So we're going to see that variables work much like pronouns in our next lecture. I should say this is a slightly rough description. We'll be getting a somewhat more precise description in the next